No. They are different from yesterday's. They're similar, but they are different. Lincoln, head up, please. Grab a note packet. Okay, so we're on page 12 on the second problem. The proofs today are not the exact same as yesterday. They're going to have some similarities, but they're not the same. Granted, every single proof will always start the same way, with the given. So the beginning of the proof, that part doesn't change. Yesterday when we went through the proofs, though, we go through our 5 things. There were not words available, but there was symbols. There was a parallel symbol. Do you notice this one doesn't have a parallel symbol? If it does not have a parallel symbol, can I use these angle pairs? No. Can I use the top 2 angle pairs? Yes. The top 2 angle pairs work fine without parallels. So one of the things you're going to see today is you're going to see problems in which you don't have the parallels. And it's going to be worked with a couple of different ways. I can still go through my 5 things. I don't have words, I don't have symbols, I don't have any substitution or transitive property I can do. I don't have algebra. I'm looking at the picture. Angle AEB. If my angles in this picture are labeled kind of like my postulate sheet, which number is angle AEB? I heard a couple different numbers. I heard 5 and I heard 6. AEB. It's here in the location of 5. Okay? The other angle was GEC. 8. It's kind of here. What kind of angle pairing is that? Vertical angles. According to the vertical angle theorem, what can I say about them? They are congruent. So, that's not right. It's supposed to be an E here, but I don't know where my thingy is. Just gonna have to deal with the fact that it's not pretty. Angle AEB is congruent to angle GEC. Do I need the M's? Should I put the M's on there?
No.
Not with congruence. Now what? Definition of congruent. I don't want congruent symbols in these proofs. In chapter 5, congruent is a good thing. In chapter 3, we don't want it. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad thing in chapter 3. We just don't want to keep it. I put the M's here. Am I supposed to have the M's? Yes. What was that, Jerry? Now we substitute. SUB. S. What is the measure of angle AEB? What can I replace that with?
5x plus
5x plus 5. GEC? 4x plus 14. Now, one of the things I've seen a couple people doing is at this point they do all of the algebra. Are you supposed to do the algebra at this point?
Yeah.
Yes, but if you do all of the algebra and you don't write your steps down, it's going to be harder to keep track of what you did. So please write them as you go. First step, what should I do? I would subtract the 4x. Are there other ways to go? Yeah. X plus 5 equals 14. I subtract it. Minus the 5. X equals 9. Minus is not actually minus, it's subtract. I'm not done yet because I have to find AEB. When I plug it back in, I must write measure angle AEB equals. What's it equal to?
5.
In other words, 5 times 9 plus
14. 5. That's
5. What's plugging it back in? Not simplify. Substitution. The simplify is the last step. What is 5 times 9? 45. If I add 5 to it, am I going to get what I want?
Yes.
Sweet. 50. That is simplify. So, a little bit different, but very different?
No.
No. Okay, let's flip to the back. Landon, we're on the last page of the notes packet. We're on the last page of the notes packet. I can do more. Okay. Measure of angle WDZ is equal to 13x minus 2. The measure of angle EDW is 6 plus 31x. I don't have one for you.
I do all mine.
They must not have made the pass correctly. Don't have words, don't have symbols. Yeah, I don't have picture. Now they're nicely labeled on this picture. What kind of angle pair is that? Linear pair. Line, ray separating them. Linear pair. Theorem or postulate? Postulate. Says they are congruent. Says they're supplementary. Okay, so measure of angle WDZ plus measure of angle EDW equals 180? No. It's not what I can write anyway.
Now you have to put the angle
Angle WDZ and angle EDW are supplementary. I have to write that first. That's what the actual postulate says I'm allowed to do. Now that does mean they add up to 180, right?
Yeah.
Which means my next step is what I had initially said. Measure of angle WDZ plus measure of angle EDW equals 180. That is the definition of supplementary. If you forgot what supplementary means, is there a place you could find it? Orange postulate sheet. Definition of supplementary. Angles add up to 180. Then we substitute in. Measure of angle WDZ gets replaced with 13x minus 2. Measure of angle EDW gets replaced with 6 plus 31x. One of the most common mistakes I see on problems like this is people moving the x and writing 6x plus 31. Please keep an eye on that. Combine like terms. What's 13x plus 31x? 44x. Negative 2 and a positive 6? Positive 4. What's it called?
Or
Simplify.
Simplified. Subtract the 4. 44x equals 176. Subtract. Divide by 44. X equals 4. I gotta plug it back in. I'm not done yet. I want EDW. EDW is the 6 plus 31x, so 6 plus 31 times 4. Again, the most common mistake I see people making on this problem is putting that x on that 6, which means when they plug it in, they put the 4 on the 6. Put the 4 where the x is. Plugging it back in is called what again? Substitution. 31 times 4 is 124. 6 plus 124 is 6 plus, this is 124, is 130. And that's simplified. We got one final proof, and this last one's going to look different again. Thank you. This one's a little bit different because this one's got a different type of angle pair. In all technicality, what kind of angle pair is this? Adjacent. Do we have a theorem for adjacent? No. But at the same time, yes. If they're purely adjacent, that's the angle addition postulate. But we do that if they're purely adjacent. If there's something else going on, we do something else first. Remember, go back to your 5 things if it's not something you automatically know how to do. First thing we do is, do I have a word? Bisects. Which kind of bisector do I have? Definition of angle bisector. Definition of angle bisector says the two small angles are congruent. Double check your picture. This is one of my two small angles that it says are congruent. Is this one of the ones that I have in my proof? Yes. It's angle CDM. Is the other small one I have in my proof? EDM? Yes. I check that because bisector proofs do not always give you the two angles in the proof because there's other things you can do with them, such as the angle addition postulate. So keep an eye on that. Once I get to this step, isn't it starting to look like all the other ones we've done for the most part? Measure angle CDM equals measure angle EDM. Definition of congruent. EDM is 14x plus 3. EDM is 16x minus 3. That step is called substitution.
Wait, no, you did that wrong.
What
It's
is it?
14x plus 13.
Oh, yes.
Good eye. I forgot it here too. I accidentally wrote 3. Not only did you catch it, you caught it before it became a problem. Nice. Subtract. I would subtract the 14x. 13 equals 2x minus 3. There's something I want to talk about once we get towards the end of this proof, which is why I'm kind of finishing it up, and I'm just kind of doing it quickly because at this point, do you know the steps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about step 7. So I'm going to pause because I know that some people are just trying to get caught up because I wrote that out so quickly. Do you notice I'm not done with my proof?
Yeah.
Now, if it was trying to prove x was alone, then I would probably have to flip it around. But, am I trying to get x alone? No. One thing I've seen a number of people doing on problems like this one, where it says proof for the measure of angle EDM is 125, is once they get to this point, they use the symmetric property. But you don't have to. If you are not trying to get it to say x equals 8, you do not have to flip this around in order to plug it back in. You are just adding extra steps. Is it wrong? No. Is it extra?
Yeah.
Do you want to add extra to a proof that you already have 9 steps on?
No.
No. Chapter 3's proofs, while some of the most straightforward proofs, are also some of the longest proofs that we do. There was a couple that were this long in chapter 2, but most of them weren't. When we get to chapter 5 and we do proofs, those are going to be the shortest proofs that we do. But don't add steps if you don't have to. Feeling okay about these proofs?